Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. It's Molotech. Today we have a special video. I was lucky to interview the founder and CEO of Presearch, Colin Pape. Presearch is the very first decentralized search engine that focuses on privacy. And if you're interested in supporting the project by either conducting searches using their engine or by hosting a search engine node, you will be able to earn some pre-tokens. And also, of course, if you would like to, you can use my referral link to earn 25 pre-tokens when you register using an email address. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and like our videos. For each like we receive, $1 will be donated to UNICEF to help out millions of children around the world. You can check out our previous donations under our community tab. So what exactly is Presearch?
Introducing Presearch Nodes, a new way for Presearch community members to participate in the Presearch ecosystem. This is how it works. A user does a search on Presearch. Their query is sent to a node gateway server. The gateway anonymizes the user's search, removing their IP address, device information, and any tracking codes to make their search anonymous. The gateway then selects a node, a piece of software running on a distributed network of computers based on the node's speed, location, and trust levels. The gateway then sends the anonymized search query to the node. The node distributes the search to available search indexes plus a number of other resources, such as external search engines, APIs, and databases. The node retrieves the results and returns them to the gateway. The gateway provides the node operator with a reward in the form of pre-tokens. The gateway then packages results, keyword ads, and settings into a result set. Keyword ads placed by advertising using keyword staking. The gateway then sends the information to the Presearch web server. The web server builds the search user experience and returns it to the searcher's web browser. Finally, the Presearch engine provides a reward to the user in the form of the pre-token. And that is how the Presearch engine provides top-quality search results while aligning the interests of all the participants, users, node operators, and advertisers with pre-tokens.
For a consumer like me, who has been a really big advocate of privacy, I use DuckDuckGo all the time. Obviously, there are other times I use Bing to support, I'm a Microsoft employee. Obviously, I'm going to use Bing. And there are times I want more personalized search results, so I use Google, right? So if somebody uses DuckDuckGo for privacy, what can you offer to make them think that they should start using Presearch?
Yeah, so I mean, DuckDuckGo's done a great job for sure, and I'm pretty sure that they're actually using the Bing API and using Bing. So I think you're supporting Microsoft no matter what, which is great. And I think the way that they've been anonymizing the search and blocking trackers and stuff, I think is definitely really valuable and has resonated with people. We're really, doing a lot of the same things that they're doing. It's not necessarily that we're, better in some respects. It's more or less the same. But I think, ultimately where it's going to be different and it's as the project evolves is that there will be more transparency where people can, kind of validate things for themselves. And so right now, it's still kind of in a semi-centralized state. People are still, to a degree, trusting the development team that we're doing the things that we say we do. But yeah, the way that it's handled, basically, the query comes in, our node gateway anonymizes it, and then passes that query out to the actual search node. And then the search node distributes that query out to multiple different resources and then returns the results. And so there is kind of that separation that's happening. And I believe, a similar type of separation is happening with DuckDuckGo as they send the query out to Bing. But truthfully, I'm not totally sure kind of how that happens. And there must be some type of relationship there, because we at one point had tried to use the Bing API, and just from a financial economic standpoint, it didn't really make sense. But we were not able, under the general agreement, to do that. We still would have had to have passed information into that API. So yeah, in this case, we're kind of just doing more of that in-house. they're currently being run centrally, but we are designing it so that, yes, there will be decentralized node gateways that will be distributed around the globe. There is a higher kind of degree of trust involved because the queries are coming in to be anonymized. So we've looked at, potential staking models for those and having like, really huge stakes required in order to run them. So almost more like a master node type setup. But yeah, that is kind of something that we see to be part of the model eventually. Definitely different than just your average search node. Theoretically, the development timeline for that stuff isn't super long. So it really just ultimately, to some degree, comes down to the community and how they want to prioritize that versus other things, with decentralized indexing or improvements to the keyword staking platform. There's kind of a lot of requests, and so we have been scaling up the dev team, and then we're looking to kind of expand it in a more decentralized fashion so more people can contribute as well.
If is this a decentralized search engine, and if let's say I'm going to Washington D.C. downtown, and I just want to search for, hey, the best coffee shop next to me, can I have the best ranking actual like those coffee shops on top of my search result?
Right. So yeah, I would say probably where the current UI is weakest right now is on the local level. That's something that we haven't really tackled yet, but that's definitely, I mean, huge value, high priority. It's just a little bit complicated, a lot of moving parts. So we'll definitely be getting there. And then yeah, ultimately from a UI standpoint, like I don't know if you've looked at community packages much yet, but in our GitHub we've got the ability to create community package, and so ultimately what we're working to encourage is people to start building out all these different UIs for like the knowledge panel results at the top of the search results. And I mean, definitely local business information would be one of the biggest requests, and monetizable as well. We want to give people who build those knowledge panels the ability to monetize through different means. So yeah, I think that's a big candidate for development. So right now, there's running a node, so being a node operator, and it's probably the most passive thing, probably the most lucrative. We've had some people earn a lot through this, is just through the referral program. So it's currently 25 pre for every active user that you refer. And there was one person in particular that just comes to mind. It was an early adopter, somebody in Venezuela, a YouTuber, and I think they ended up with a couple 100,000 pre-tokens just through their referrals. It was quite significant. There's people that have tried to game the system and try to have accounts created or bots or whatever. And like we've got mechanisms in place to protect against that. And then yeah, through searching, obviously, when you search, you pre as well. So those are the three mechanisms currently.
Is it safe to host a node from my residential IP? Can somebody use the IP to do illegal things or searches? Will FBI come knock on my door because it looks
Yeah.
like I searched something really sensitive?
Yeah, there's definitely a risk there. I won't say that there's no risk, and yeah, certainly people that are running them on VPSs probably a little bit more protected as far as, yeah, it's not directly associated with your IP. The thing is you can't like specifically target an IP with queries. That's not possible. And to have a mass number of queries that might really trigger something, I think would be pretty unlikely. We're working on something basically just to provide additional filtering capabilities. So the node operator could even go in and basically select a block list, let's say, of terms that they don't want to ever be associated with the IP address. And then as they have that loaded in, that would just be part of the node selection process.
Have you thought about working with manufacturers, maybe to create some hardware on devices and for people to host those from their residential IPs? For people who are not so technical.
Yeah, we are actually working on something right now, powered through Raspberry Pi. So it's a Presearch branded device. It's got the Node software pre-installed. It's easy to configure and get up and running, and basically making that kind of framework available for others to do the same. Because yeah, we think it is a big opportunity and something that people would be interested in doing. And specifically when we have that filtering capability, it kind of mitigates any of the potential risks from doing it. And I mean, ultimately, VPSs in data centers are great. And there's a whole lot of different data centers that are running all over the world, and so it is decentralized that way. But the more we can have it on just totally independent networks, the better and the more decentralized. So ultimately, that is part of the vision. Yeah, I don't have a specific date, but I'm going to say before the end of the year.
Oh, awesome. That's pretty quick.
Yeah, it's actually, I think that's the first time we've ever said that, but yeah, it's in the works right now. We've already got proofs of concept, and there's some interesting stuff involved as well.
At some point, would be like one type of node be more profitable than another type of node?
Yeah, so currently they're all doing essentially the same thing. So kind of this, it's proxying different resources, it's hitting different databases and APIs, and kind of combining the results and passing it back to the node gateway. The indexing and crawling nodes will be dedicated nodes. They're not out there at this point yet in the node operator community, but those will be dedicated. They will have specific hardware requirements, and there will be different compensation rates for those as well. Not sure ultimately that they'll be more or less profitable right at the moment. Like any specific one, I can't really tell you that, but I think yeah, just kind of based on the intensity of the activity that they're providing, then yeah, there will be different compensation rates, and some of them likely are to be more profitable. Yeah. It's a good question, and there's a lot of people that are running different experiments right now. I can't specifically say, hey, here's the ideal format, but we are trying to optimize for distribution. So in general, like 10,000 pre on one node versus 1,000 pre on 10 nodes. The 10 nodes with 1,000 pre are likely to perform higher. They are also potentially to have higher expenses. So depending on where you're operating your node, obviously, so you got to kind of take that into account. Ultimately, people that are putting like a ton of pre on a single node, I think at that point it becomes maybe just a little bit more about maintenance and just having a lower number of nodes to maintain and keep in sync and that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean it's a huge thing right now, and I mean like ultimately at some point there will be, as the network supports it and there's enough utilization, and we kind of get to that sweet spot where the advertisers are seeing massive value, and there's like a huge flood of them, and it needs to just get more competitive. There will be some type of cost per click most likely, but we haven't 100% committed into that yet. There's some creative stuff that we're looking at, and so right now though, yeah, it's basically free advertising as far as there's no cost per click. It's just based on whatever your stake is. And so we've got a lot of affiliate marketers, and we haven't at this point like done tremendous outreach on the marketing side. We're trying to right now kind of get our North American and European audiences to a level where they're really significant, and we had a pretty big win in Europe with the Android deal, where Presearch is now one of the default search options if you're setting up Android or resetting Android up. If you haven't seen that one, that was a pretty good one. And now we're working in North America to really just drive awareness and drive usage. And then as that kind of comes into effect, then we'll start doing a lot more active outreach to marketers. But for now, it's basically people that have just discovered it. They've kind of come in. We've definitely got companies and brands that are doing it, but a lot of the time, we don't necessarily need a relationship directly with the company because they've got an affiliate program. And so somebody who's an enterprising marketer, they see, oh, wow, I can make money off of this affiliate program. There's no like permissions or trying to like, get things set up. And it's just an easy way for them to start channeling that traffic into some type of unit that converts into, regular currency. But we want to try to make people see those ads a little bit differently. So it's not just, in a traditional system, it's like, oh man, ads and like the advertisers like in my way. And it's kind of like, but in this case,
Yeah.
it's like, man, those are the people that are driving demand into the network and they're really conferring value on all of our tokens, right? And
Yeah.
so like,
Yeah.
man, I want to like thank those people and support those people. And
Yeah.
so is there a way that we can communicate that and ensure that those people are viewed more as sponsors and supporters than just advertisers? So, I mean, right now, information is pretty limited as far as, it's not really profiling, it's not really demographic data. The beauty of search traffic compared to like social traffic, let's say, is that you've got like that transactional intent. So you know what somebody's looking for in that moment. And so that's kind of the main thing that we're focusing on versus demographic information. But ultimately, yeah, there's probably a really big opportunity to enable people to choose to share their demographic data and then be compensated for it. People are being rewarded for sharing instead of having that information just like, captured and monetized. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, definitely possible. Hasn't been something that we've really had any issues with, but we've looked at things that could potentially combat centralization. I mean, ultimately, there's going to be more of a governance model, and there's going to be more active participation within the curation of all the results. But something that we've kind of got a concept for already, and we've done some groundwork on, is like negative keyword staking. So
Huh.
basically, if somebody like captures a term but community members, searchers, users are feeling like, it's not relevant or it's, offensive or something like that, that they could essentially use their own tokens to stake against it to kind of demote it. And then you can end up in a
The
bit of a
token
battle.
war.
Token war, exactly. So we haven't fully built it out yet, but it's definitely something that we've had on the roadmap at like a high priority in the past. And right now, again, haven't really had massive demand for it. And there's, mechanisms in place to report, like really like messed up ads, which
Yeah.
happens from time to time. More just people like putting in like if they tried to like promote malware or something like that. That
Yeah.
obviously
That's
we
definitely a
don't want
big
that
security.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to be like a centralized entity that is influencing results and saying, hey, here's what can and cannot be. We want that
Yeah.
to be in the hands of the community and the token holders. So
If somebody acquire a large amount of tokens, then it's almost like they can create their own ecosystem where they,
yeah,
let's say they don't do ads, but they can sell ad service for
yep,
fiat. Like,
yep.
right, yo, come to me. Like, I'm gonna put these ads on Presearch for you guys for this amount of cash.
You,
Yeah.
you know what? There's people doing that right now, and we're okay with that. That actually
Okay.
makes a lot of sense. There's people who
Yeah.
are kind of building agencies more or less, or they're they've already got an agency,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh yeah, this is a traffic source for them that they use. We think that's probably a pretty smart way to do it. And then we've had some people that did get in earlier at a time when it was pretty advantageous from a price standpoint, and they've got a number of tokens. In general, we've been really fortunate to have all really friendly kind of whales, I guess you might refer to them in some circles. But some of them have requested things like, hey, is there like the ability to do token leasing? So
Yeah.
I could lease out my stake to somebody else and then they can kind of capture all the traffic from it. So I think there's kind of multiple ways to approach it that could be interesting to people and kind of preserve the integrity of the platform overall. Yep, yep. Presearch is about 1.3. I think DuckDuckGo is closer to 100 million. It kind of varies. Yeah, 100 million a day. So I mean, there's so much upside for Presearch at this point. We're still just kind of scratching the surface. But yeah, even that 1.3 million a day. If we were recording all those microtransactions, with the rewards, everything, on blockchain, which it would be the most used blockchain in the world. So you can imagine, like, yeah, as it starts to really scale up, and I mean, ultimately, from a tech standpoint, there needs to be something more on the microtransaction side. We're basically kind of batching those essentially, using more traditional means. But ultimately, we'd love to have everything on chain. But yeah, nothing would really even support just the current volume. It's pretty well used for sure. DuckDuckGo, I think if it were to be sold right now, I mean, with the current scale they have, I would bet it would be sold for something like 25 billion. That would be kind of like an equity, enterprise value. I think, yeah, they're doing like hundreds of millions a year in revenue, and I think they're quite profitable. And I'm pretty sure like most of their revenue is coming from the Microsoft advertising platform. That's how you advertise. If you want to advertise on, and I mean, people don't realize how much money like Bing generates. Bing is generating billions of dollars a year in revenue. I mean, the search space is huge. It really is, and there's huge value in it, huge economic value, because people are willing to pay a lot to reach a qualified customer. And if you've got somebody at that moment who's looking for what you're selling, I mean, average cost per click might be $1.50 or something like that, which can really add up. But then some of these things, I mean, they're paying tens of dollars, or even there's keywords on Google that are hundreds of dollars per click. It's just nuts. I'm a pretty small town kind of person myself, and a lot of the community members are in this because like they don't want another Google. They want something that the
Yeah.
community can be part of and be proud of, and kind of have
Community driven
driven.
products. Yeah.
Exactly. Ultimately, there's more than 100 different search engines that you can choose, and you can easily redirect your query out to Bing, out to DuckDuckGo, out to Google. And we want to ensure that there is always that kind of level playing field. Yeah, that's a cool question, man, because my background is actually in domain names. My other company, shopcity.com, we've got like, almost 10,000 shopnewyork.com, shopboston.com. We bought them like 20 years ago. And so domains to me are pretty important. And still, like .com still there's something to it. It's credibility, it's marketing, just kind of ease. And so basically, we originally, when we launched the first version of the platform, which was on that domain hack I mentioned, that was somewhat intentional. It was like a Swiss thing. I kind of thought of the name, and I thought, I don't know why. It was before the search, pre-search, and I thought, it just kind of made sense. And so then when we were launching in 2017, and we were kind of launching it as a crypto project, like all the others were already gone. And Presearch.com in particular was owned by a multi-billion-dollar US defense contractor called SAIC. So we knew, okay, we're never going to be able to get that one. And a lot of crypto projects were using .io, and which represents input output, and kind of made a lot of sense. So we thought, okay, we'll just launch it on .io, and then hopefully we'll be able to secure the other ones. Well, we ended up at some point buying Presearch.org for a pretty good chunk of money. Like we paid six figures actually for that one. Yeah, yeah, it was owned by yeah, it was commitment. Yeah, totally. We're all in on the name at that point. It was I believe it was a Dutch company that did like corporate searches, and so they weren't using that one. I think they're using presearch.nl as their main domain, and they had .org as a backup, and so they were willing to sell it. And so we kind of like launched originally the white paper on .io, and then we bought fairly quickly the .org, and then after that we started trying to pursue the .com. Really didn't get anywhere with it. And then one of our community members, Mark, he was like, he's a domain guy, and Mark Dalton, Mad TN is him in our Telegram group. He's one of the admins, and he was just like, I'm gonna get it. And we're like, hey man, if you can do it, go nuts. Somehow he ended up getting them, because I actually ended up Yeah, finding out that other people had been trying to get the .com and nobody could get a reply. Somehow Mark got a reply, got to the right woman who was, the corporate attorney in charge of SAIC's intellectual property. And again, they're like a multi-billion-dollar defense contractor. He somehow negotiated that they would sell it to us. They picked up the domain. They bought a company called Presearch that I think was started in '94, which is when Presearch.com was registered. It's one of the first domain names on the internet because it was registered so early. They bought it in I think 2004. It was some type of R&D company, and they just had the domain just like dead. Like you could type Presearch.com and it was just like nothing. It would crash. And Mark was like, "Man, do you know how much traffic you guys are losing to that? And like we need it for credibility." So we said, "Hey, man, like we've got a budget for it. If you can figure it out, make it happen." Well, somehow he got it done, and so we ended up with Presearch.com. And so when we launch mainnet, we're going to launch it on .com. From a marketing standpoint, it's much superior. .org will still work, but we're going to .com. Mainnet launch, I don't have an exact date for you, but it's before the end of the year. Weeks away at this point from
Okay.
from rolling that out. Probably first half of November is kind of when we're going to target, but definitely before the end of the year.